Hello everyone, Derek's Damn Toys, and we are back with another action figure review. Today we've got the Full Gear pay-per-view limited edition Swerve Strickland, and well, I'm definitely excited to get into this one as well. There's only 3 swerves in existence, and realistically now I just need one, just one more swerve, and I've got all the swerves that they've put out so far, at least to my knowledge. Feel free to correct me in the comments down below. And no, I do not mean his basic from when he was in WWE. I'm talking strictly AEW figures, if I could fucking speak, let's be honest here. But, you know, all I can say is first things first, despite my box being a little bit fucked up, which is fine, because, you know, we're going to be opening this up anyway, so it's not like that's going to matter. I do love the overall just aesthetic of the box, like the bronzish penny look to the name and the foil up here, the picture of Swerve on both the side and all that, the picture they chose for the back. A little sad that we do not end up getting this jacket when it comes to this figure, at least not that I'm aware of. I don't see it anywhere up in there, but you know, I can't complain too much. I think I'm gonna end up really liking this figure, despite the one thing I wish we could have with it. But either way, why don't we get Swerve Strickland out of his plastic prison now, shall we? Alrighty, you guys. Now that we've got the Swerve Strickland out of his plastic prison, we gotta go over the figure. But first, we gotta go over the figure's accessories, and well, I guess you could say, thankfully, he doesn't come with a whole lot, and that's just because I'm not trying to talk super duper long about the accessories now. But, needless to say, you've got 2 different sets of interchangeable hands, normal grapple hands on the Swerve pre-plugged in, and then a set of fist hands. Of course, the 2 right hands do have his hand tattoo. Nice detail here, nice detail, I can't complain. Though I'm not gonna lie, I was looking at him off camera. I do kind of prefer his, I want to say it was his first figures tattooed like deco. It just looks a lot more clean. It's a lot easier to look at, in my opinion. Not saying this one's terrible at all, but like, just gonna point this out before we get into the chair, you know what I mean? Like, it's not bad looking, especially on camera, but the deco on his first figure is a little bit darker, so I feel like it just meshes with the skin tone a bit better. But this is also a different skin tone, I want to say. But I digress. We'll get more into that once we get into the figure itself. But of course, his main accessory would be this AEW Full Gear steel chair. Got 2 different logos on it here. We've got the All Elite logo, the Full Gear logo, and the date the event was held, which was November 18th, 2023. Not too long ago indeed was this event held, I guess, which really feels weird to think about, because it feels like yesterday this like attire was worn on Full Gear, and well, here we are having it in figure form. Did take a little while, I guess you could say, but then at the end of the day, you know, Jazzwares, they weren't pumping stuff out as often as they probably should have and or could have. Of course, I can't speak for the company, but so far I am really digging this Swerve. Of course, first things first, we gotta get into this new head scan, at least new to me. I think this is the same head scan that came on the, what is it, like the unrivaled 16 or 17 Swerve, whatever Swerve it was. It came in the black and like gold and white gear, pretty much kind of similar to this one in a sense, but not exactly, I don't think. Don't quote me on any of this. I'm sure the logos are not the exact same, but yeah, I am absolutely digging this attire. I'm digging this head scan. And well, this head scan, of course, you've got the dreadlocks pulled back into a ponytail. You've got some little bits of detailing throughout there. It's more of like I guess you could say like a light shade of brown. Maybe almost kind of like a tannish color, but I can't really tell you there. It could be like a cream white for all I know. But of course you've got this menacing skin on Swerve Strickland. You can see his grills here and his 3 teeth? I can't really exactly see it that well, and I'm not gonna lie, looking at it in person, it's just as hard to tell. Maybe it's just 2 teeth. I don't know, but it's still looking quite nice nonetheless. You've got all the tattoo deco on this man, from the stomach and rib cage tattoos to the chest tattoos to the arm tattoos, back tattoo. Man's has a lot of different tattoo deco. We'd probably be sitting here for 20 minutes trying to guess every little like tattoo this man might have. Don't mind the figures over here on the side. I was filming a matchup as we were recording. If you guys watch the 3-in-1 review, which, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I can't say I blame a lot of you for not wanting to. It was a long video, and it's 3 videos, and it's 3 characters that have been reviewed quite a bit already so far since they got released, so can't expect to get a boatload of views on that. I also don't do a bunch of tags and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe I should consider doing tags one of these days. I know I was telling someone in my comments that I didn't really care enough about them, and I really don't. It's just a lot of extra steps, because I don't recall them giving me the button to just add them right away. But that's a bunch of hoopla, especially if you're not a YouTuber. You're not going to care about none of that. But either way, the tattoo deco is really nice. The sculpted on wrist tape here is a really nice touch too. You've got the belt, which isn't fully sculpted on. Those studs and stuff are painted, but the belt buckle is its own sculpt, along with the tight loops. I will say this is a little bit of a sad case to see right here, where the deco doesn't exactly line up all that properly, or little bits of imperfection, but honestly, I didn't even notice that until it was on the camera, and it's only on the seams of the crotch piece, so. But either way, this attire is looking really damn good, from the like plattish design there. You've got the like Swerve Archangel here, because I want to say those are 2 different kinds of wings. Maybe it is just a normal angel, I don't know. And I don't even think Archangel was the word I was looking for there, but we'll just roll with it. We've got the skeleton Swerve, and we've got some fiend-inspired stripes going down the leg. Got Swerve the realist on his ass cheeks. For whatever reason, he chose to put it on his ass. You've got a target, you've got like an aim sight target thing here. Red backing on the knee pads, really nice designing touch there. I really do love this attire. The day I knew this was getting made in action figure form, I had to get it. I really did. And well, so far, it is definitely aesthetically pleasing. Like I mentioned earlier though, the jacket would have been pretty dope though they would have ended up giving us a rubber jacket, let's be honest. But even if it was cloth, then there'd be the chance that it stains. So is there really even a win when it comes to getting accessories through Jazzwares? At some points it's really not. And especially if you don't know how to then clean some of these accessories, you might get a little fucked, I guess you could say. All it takes, a little Dawn dish soap, some nice hot water, you rinse them through quite nice, you massage the soap up into it. You'll see the watercolor change a little bit from the ink that was left over inside of the shirts and stuff like that, and makes a big difference. But you know what also makes a big difference? The fact that this man poses like a champ. Like honestly, from the shoulder articulation here to the double jointed arms, you've got wrist articulation, the head moves up and down quite nice. He can almost actually look completely up, in fact. So quite nice. Got a little swivel there, which is always a beautiful case. You love to see that. The ab crunch is really good. Of course it's going to be really good on a Swerve figure. It's only usually like the bigger guys that tend to have terrible ab crunches, like what was it? Like Butcher and Samoa Joe and Miro and some of the like thicker built guys. They don't tend to have great ab crunches, but they do tend to have some decent kick forwards depending on the character. And well, I don't know, you can tell me, he can sit in my hand quite comfortably, and just to make sure you feel a little bit extra safe about it, he can sit on his ass quite well. And I think that's always a nice touch for me, because if the legs can't pose, the figure is already 5 points down. And I'm not saying like 5 points down on the overall scaling, just 5 points down on the articulation factor. Because like, how are you supposed to do anything with the rest of these legs, even if the thigh cut moves, even if you've got double jointed knees and or great ankle articulation, including the ankle bend. And I want to say there is a little bit of ankle rock there. It is kind of hard to do it with one hand, but yeah, you've got it there. So it just shows you that Jazzwares really do be some of the best like wrestling action figures, at least, you can collect out there. And well, I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, the only other wrestling action figures I own that aren't like old school WWE Jakks figures that might be located in the crowd in certain areas and stuff like that. Like if I can find one real quick in the crowd, I'll point them out. Ah, yes, all the way up here we've got Jakks Mysterio. But like, I only have little bits of a Jakks collection. I don't have many of the figures that me and my brothers used to have growing up. And well, sad reality, but sometimes that kind of shit happens. But I digress. Nonetheless, why don't we get into this figure's overall ranking, and we can kind of get him into like his final pose. Not gonna lie, before I got him into the final pose, I didn't think about maybe comparing him, or maybe even seeing what it would be like to head swap him. But fun fact, because I did it off camera, you can't head swap these. This head will be too loose on the first Swerve body. I want to say the like ball piece inside of this neck here is a little bit thicker compared to the original one. So it is what it is. You're just gonna have to fucking torso swap them. But this is what it looks like to have the two torsos swapped. I definitely dig the two different looks here. I almost kind of dig them a little bit better with like the short, the ponytailed hair here, and then the hair with the red dreads in it, with the red attire. That's actually pretty damn fire, I'm not gonna lie. Really nice little simple swap here. But now, with all that being said, why don't we get this man in his final pose before, I end up going to bed way too goddamn late. Alrighty, you guys, now that we've got this Swerve all up in his final pose, we can go over everything that we do and don't like about this figure, and while maybe, just maybe, rank it on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe you don't know the ordeal, maybe you do, but at the end of the day, I do really like this attire choice. They could have went with how many different full gear attires for Swerve by now, because he's been around in AEW for what? At least 3 out of the 6 years? He's been around for a minute. He may have been around for 4 out of the 6 years for all I know. I can't exactly remember when this man signed. But at the end of the day, he has made such an impact in AEW compared to when he was in WWE. But, of course, when you can let your creativity just flourish, and you have the boss that's willing to let you do that, there's a big difference in how you may and or may not shine. And I think AEW can prove that with a lot of talents, and then there's a reason why a lot of talents don't tend to get a lot of shine. And well, Swerve's got it. Swerve proved he's got it. And sad to say that he will probably never get the same treatment he does in WWE that he does right now. But you never know, especially if he does end up going back. But I'm not guaranteeing that. But what I am guaranteeing is that on the scale of 1 to 10, he is going to get quite a high number. But how high will it be? Well, I can't guarantee it'll be as high as RVD, but why don't we get into the 1 to 10 scale? So, on the scale of 1 to 10, how high would I rank this Swerve Strickland? Well, I love the head scan, I love the gear. Gear choice was phenomenal. Wish we could have gotten a jacket, but honestly, that's a hit or a miss. If anything, maybe even just an alternative head scan would have done this man justice, just to have something of a little bit of a difference, something to make this figure pop, something to make you really want to get this figure. Because I don't know about you, but unless you're like a major Swerve fan, there's already 2 other ones that came before this one technically, and they're all realistically, if I can say so, all just realistically repeats of one another, but the last 2 have had a different head scan. I don't know. If anything, maybe I should make a top 10 video on who should be getting an Ultimate Edition, who should be getting a Supreme Edition figure next when it comes to the AEW Jazzwares line. And realistically, I will be quite fair with you. Number 1 would be this man right here, and that's just because I would love to see a little bit more foreign and or black representation in the line. Of course, we had the Lucha Brothers and their own individual wave nonetheless, but I don't feel like we've gotten a whole lot of like foreign and or black characters in the line. We've gotten Kenny Omega, who's a Canadian. I'm not exactly sure Britt Baker's background like where she tends to come from, but Swerve would be a great start, I feel, to add to the Supreme collection, let alone to add a little bit more to that Supreme line, that legacy that will live on forever, just because at the end of the day, I do love watching Swerve on my TV, and who wouldn't want a Supreme of this man? And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I want to say he would then be the first black superstar to get a Supreme figure, and that's kind of what I'm getting at here. We've had the Lucha Brothers, we've had Kenny Omega, who are technically foreigners, but Swerve, who may not be a foreigner, but he is of black descent, and that would make for a really great, a really great nod to the start of that. Maybe then we could eventually get like a Keith Lee or something like that too. I don't know. Maybe I seem a little out of line with that, but that's just me. And well, I actually know someone who would agree. If I recall correctly, I've had this conversation with one of my buddies before, but I digress. This figure on a scale of 1 to 10, honestly, I'm going to give him a good solid 8. Here's why. The knee pad on the one side, not the one with the kill shot logo, but the one with the little backing and the black face. This one right here, I don't know why I can't say right for whatever fucking reason, but it's got a little slit in it. So it's a little wonky there. I don't want to fuck up the pose here, but I'm sure there's some instances where if you rewind the video, you might be able to see it. I can't really see it all that well myself from this angle, but if not, highly recommend maybe rewinding the video and you'll probably see it a lot better. Either way, still a really solid figure nonetheless. Wish we could have gotten an extra head scan, but a good solid 8 I think saves the day. And well, if you don't know, I guess it is time we should get into the Meltzer star scaling, the good old 1 to Young Buck match. And well, we gave him a solid 8 out of 10. It only makes sense to give him a solid, we'll say 4 out of 5 stars, though 4 is usually reserved for 9s and 9.5s out of 10. But I think today this Swerve can get that, and that's just because I think this might be my favorite Swerve. I don't know, if I got the black and gold attire, maybe my opinion would change, but at the end of the day, that doesn't necessarily matter. You know what does matter though? If you guys liked the video, well, feel free to like the video. But if you guys didn't, well, womp womp, I guess. But if you guys did like the video and you guys wouldn't mind, feel free to go check out some of my other action figure content. I uploaded that long ass video I was telling you about earlier, 3-in-1 review, where we reviewed all 3 of those Ultimates. We've got the intro to Chaos Theory, something I posted on Instagram, I'm not gonna lie, but I now have it uploaded here on YouTube. We got a couple of pick-fed videos up here. We got some other reviews, and you know, we've just got a bunch of different stuff if you scroll hard enough. Sadly, some of the stuff you're seeing here isn't all listed, but a good chunk of it should be. But you know what is listed? The subscriber count, and at that rate, if you guys could, feel free to subscribe. After all, it is free to subscribe, so if you guys would like to help out and get us up to 1,000 subs, we're almost there. We're currently sitting at 400 and 66 subs. And well, realistically, at the end of the day, what makes that great is we are, what, 4 days away from my birthday? Not even. Actually, no, 4 days away as of recording. But by the time I go to sleep, go to work, come home, it's going to be 3 days. So you can kind of say a good mixture of both. That's the sad reality of working overnight. So, whatever. But, like I was saying, feel free to help out there. I'm not going to play a violin and sing In the Arms of the Angels. But what I will do is say if you guys could sub, it'll help out a lot. Because, just at least seeing the subscriber count might make someone go, this guy's maybe a little bit more legit than I thought. He's got a lot of people who are liking his shit right now. And even if you guys aren't actively liking the videos, all 466 of you, even if you have duplicate copies or accounts, I don't really give a shit. I'm not gonna lie. You're helping me out, so why would I complain about that? YouTube might, but I'm not. Those are individual people to me. But I don't know. It's just, it would help out. It really does. And I'm happy to the people who do enjoy everything and all that. And, well, if you actually stayed this long, hopefully I have the music at quite a decent tone. I've talked to, a few people who have watched the reviews, and that's always been one complaint, is I can never really get the tone of music right. And realistically, it's kind of the same way when it comes to the pick fed, if I'm to be honest. I'm just a really shitty editor. I don't think I edit good at all, but you guys enjoy my fed sometimes, so I'll take a W when I can, even if I'm not as confident in it myself. There's a lot of you out there who drive my confidence back up, and you tell me how good I'm doing posing wise or something like that. And just know I do really appreciate each and every one of you, from fedders who may be exclusively on Instagram and don't really post to YouTube, to some of the people who follow me on here and on Instagram, like Enigma Figs, to point out one of you guys that actually gave me feedback. I'm trying to take in some feedback. Whether I do it or not, I'm not gonna always guarantee that, but I will always be open to feedback. I may tell you your idea, my opinion, is stupid, and or I don't really care enough to do it, but I appreciate your opinions. At least I'll be honest, though. I'm not gonna lie to your face and be like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, dude, and just never fucking do it. Anyway, have a good rest of your day, night, evenings. I don't know. I don't want to ramble your ears off too much longer. It's almost 30 minutes long, and that's just fucked. But either way, deuces, ooses, yeet. Whose house? Swerve's house.